I need y'all to understand that the disrespect that Kamala Harris is receiving is much deeper than just a mispronunciation of her name. They are literally calling her names. They're literally questioning her intelligence. They're questioning her intellectual capacity in ways that they just don't do white people. I want to show you this conversation on Fox News. Neil Cavuto, who's a longtime host on Fox News, brings on Senator Kennedy from Louisiana. Excuse me, Representative Kennedy from Louisiana. Excuse me, he ain't no senator, but he is in the, anyway. And John Neely Kennedy is his name, and he's a junior. Oh my God, my head is spinning, y'all. Forgive me. He is a senator. I'm just double checking. I'm fact checking myself, man. He is a U.S. senator. Why do I have in my brain he's in the other chamber? But he is a U.S. senator. My bad. No disrespect. See, you make a mistake, you correct it. Anyway, U.S. Senator Kennedy was a hardcore right-wing extremist, was on Neil Cavuto's show on Fox News. And while on the show, he begins to discuss Vice President Kamala Harris. And he immediately gets disrespectful, and powerfully and interestingly, he gets checked by a Fox News host. Check this out.
You can't just look at the top lines, Neil. You've got to look at the crosstabs. And if you look at the crosstabs and really drill down and see what people think, let me say it again. The polling that I've seen shows that many Americans think that the vice president is not a serious person. As I said, that she's a bit of a ding-dong. And number two, that she is a member of the loon wing of the Democratic Party.
I'm going to pause there for a second. A bit of a ding-dong. A bit of a ding-dong. Senator John Kennedy, clearly different Kennedys, says that based on the polling that she's a bit of a ding-dong. So immediately questioning her, again, her intellectual fitness, her how serious she is as a candidate and as a politician. These are things that they don't do with people in their own party. These are things they don't do with people of the other party, except Black people, and particularly Black women. This is a very clear act of disrespect, saying that she is part of the loon wing. Now, Senator Kennedy is part of the people that don't want to teach history, that don't want women to have the right to control their own bodies, that want to prosecute endless wars. They sound like the loons to me. But somehow, Kamala Harris is a loon? You ain't got to agree with her. I disagree with Kamala Harris from the left all the time, every day. But I'm not going to call her a loon and a ding-dong? Come on, man. Like, this is the disrespect that we're talking about. This is the disrespect that we're talking about. But it keeps going.
She's a San Francisco Democrat. She's a
dog whistle.
She's just like Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez, except without the bartending experience.
Again, she's just like AOC, except he says Ocasio-Cortez. Again, mispronouncing her name on purpose, because again, I'm a white man. I don't have to figure out how to pronounce her name. She's just like her, except without the bartending experience. So again, somehow, I love, by the way, how the Republican Party, who's supposed to be the party of the everyday working, quote unquote, man, when an actual everyday working person gets a job in the House or the Senate, they don't like it unless it's a white man. They loved them some Joe the Plumber. They loved when Joe the Plumber was weighing in on American politics. They loved when Joe the Plumber was trying to get John McCain into the White House. That was fine, because we need more Joe the Plumbers weighing in. Maybe Joe the Plumber should run for office. They loved Joe the Plumber then, and now suddenly the AOC, who by the way went to college, is thoughtful, has a history of political organizing and activism, runs now. She's just a bartender. And now, and she's basically saying that Kamala Harris is a low-budget AOC. Again, disrespecting women of color, disrespecting all women, right? By basically framing them as incompetent, intellectually inferior. This is what they are doing in these media interviews.
She is not mainstream, and the point I was trying to make was that by making her first policy position known on abortion, the idea that we should have a law that says You can have an abortion at any point, no questions asked, even up until the moment of birth. I think for most Americans is a loon wing position.
So again, so many things wrong there. But let's say at the beginning, they completely misrepresent the position that Kamala Harris has, that AOC has, that anybody on the Democratic Party has. Man, there is no Democrat that says, you know, you should be able to have an abortion on the 9th month as the baby comes out. That is simply untrue. Late-term abortions are a political, are form of political misinformation. It's a misleading number. It's a misleading stat. It's a misleading political definition that the right uses to make it seem as if Democrats are trying to abort live children. And the idea of people having abortions in the 9th month, it's speaking to a very specific type of medical procedure, which is either to preserve the life of the mother or a baby that is not going to survive. And so this idea that Republicans have these, you know, principled ideas and Democrats have the extreme loon wing ideas is improper. But even if Democrats did have ideas that were on that bordered on the extreme of our kind of Overton window, or what the kind of acceptable political discourse in America, that doesn't mean you get to call them idiots. It doesn't mean you get to call them loons. It doesn't mean you get to call them ding dongs. It doesn't mean you get to disrespect them. And that's what Neil Cavuto was attempting to push back on a little bit right here in this exchange.
That's just my opinion, and but that's also what the
just to be, no, you're absolutely fair game to make it. I'm just wondering how you think that will resonate with women when you know she is called nasty and crazy and a ding dong and all and disrespectful between you and the president, what has been said about her. I'm just wondering, do you worry how that comes across? And maybe you draw no distinction between a female candidate and a male, and that's fair game, but that this could hurt you with female voters with these type of comments.
Well, let me say it again.
By the way, just before we move on, check Neil Cavuto's question. Cavuto is doing the best he can. This is Fox News. Any other news station, they'd be like, yo, man, that was the most wild sexist shit I've ever heard. That was disgusting. But Cavuto has to frame it in order to stay in Fox News' good graces. And I know because I worked there before. To stay in their good graces, you have to frame it as, look, I'm on your side. I just don't think the ladies might like when you call them ding dongs. You know, hey, I support you, but maybe you don't want to make fun of women's intellectual capacity. Hey, you have every right to make look, it's fair game. You have every right to say what you want to say. But hey, you know, if you want to win this election, you need women. And maybe, you know, saying that women are loons might not be a good way to court their vote. So Cavuto has to frame it like it's a political, like he's offering him like some free game, you know, some OG advice. But in reality, what he's saying is, come on, man, you sound ridiculous. You sound sexist. This is indefensible. It's indefensible.
Sure. The vice president is a candidate for president of the United States. I don't care about her gender. Neil, maybe you do, but I don't. I don't care about her race. I care about her.
Then why call her a ding dong? Then why call her a ding dong?
And I'm telling you what the polling shows. I'm telling you what the polling
shows. Don't show she's a ding dong.
And it does. And I'll be glad to sit down with you and walk you through the polls.
Please do, because I never know when it's constructive to call people names. You know, Senator, I just on the left or the right.
But I'm sorry if that hurts your feelings, but let me say it again.
Senator, you keep bringing it back to my feelings. My feelings matter a little. All I'm telling you is if you think you can gain this November.
So now Cavuto's getting pissed. Now Cavuto is getting pissed because he's basically calling him a sucker. He's calling him a certain word. He's saying, Cavuto's saying, why are you calling her names? And he's saying, well, I'm just telling you what the poll saying. Cavuto is saying, the polls don't call her name. The poll may say she has a position that some voters don't agree with her on certain policy issues. They don't call her a ding dong. They don't call her a loon. You're doing that. And again, Cavuto is trying to be polite and couch it in a language of concern. Like, look, I just don't think this is going to resonate well with women voters and black voters, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And of course, Kennedy has to make it colorblind and gender blind. I don't care about her gender. I don't care about her race. all I care about is the fact that she's running for president. And he's like, well, then why use this language? Because you're not using this language against men. You're not using this language against white people. But you know what you're doing here. These are dog whistles. These are not subtle dog whistles. These aren't soft dog whistles. These are loud ones. All the dogs coming out in the yard for this, because you know what you're doing. And when Cavuto challenges him, instead of addressing the critique, he then tries to attack. Again, it's a tacit attack on even Cavuto's masculinity. Because again, while he says he doesn't care about gender, he keeps weaponizing masculinity by basically saying anybody who doesn't agree with him is soft. So he says, I'm sorry if it hurts your feelings. He's saying, I'm sorry if it hurts your feelings, again, to make it seem like Cavuto is being sensitive and somehow irrationally internalizing the critique. He knows what he's doing here. I'm talking about Senator Kennedy here. He is intentionally framing it this way so that no man will actually speak up and challenge what is clearly a sexist and ridiculous criticism. And Cavuto, again, I'm gonna say it one more time, he's not even telling him you're wrong for doing it. He's just saying, this is a dumbass strategy.
Calling people names. I don't know how far that goes, left or right, but we'll see. It's still early. To your point.
Your feelings seem to me like they matter to you a lot, Neil, and I'm trying to be objective here. Let me say it again.
Are you really being objective, Senator? I just think you've got a bash-a-thon of name calling at her. If you call that being objective, I don't know. But Senator, I do want to thank you for coming.
Well, thank you for having me, Neil. I hope you have a better day.
Yeah, so do I. Hope you have a better day. We'll have more after this.
Neil Cavuto wanted to end that with motherfucker. He said, I hope you have a better day. Saying I hope you have a better day is again saying you're in your feelings. You're soft, you're weak, right? You're a snowflake. All these things. They're making Neil Cavuto seem like he's being weak. And again, Neil Cavuto is a hardcore right-winger, particularly on economic issues. He's a Wall Street guy. And again, even the slightest criticism, even the slightest challenge to his language, to his framing, he can't take it. This is the right wing, y'all. This is the Republican Party. This is John Kennedy out of Louisiana, but this is the whole section. At this point, the majority of the Republican Party's ideology on this stuff. He is being condescending and disrespectful to Neil Cavuto. And Neil Cavuto is like furious at the framing and of the language, but there's nothing he can do about it. But I'm glad Neil Cavuto checked him. Again, you know it's bad when a Fox News host tells you that you're going too far. That's wild.